So the Cleveland Browns won last night, but they also lost their best player for the rest of the season. Take a look at this video. A nasty fight erupted in the final moments of the game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. It looks like quarterback Mason Rudolph attempts to remove Myles Garrett's headgear while they're on the ground. Garrett then rips off Rudolph's helmet and hits him with it. That's when Steelers players charge at Garrett, throwing punches. One player even kicks him in the head. Here's what Myles Garrett and Mason Rudolph had to say about the incident. Listen.
That is embarrassing. What I did was foolish, and I shouldn't have allowed myself to slip like that. That's out of character.
But I know it's Bush League. I know he's, total coward move on his part. I get. I mean, it's okay though. I'll take it. I'm not going to back down from any bully out there. So we'll see what happens.
So the melee sparked spicy reactions on social media. Hall of Famer Deion Sanders gave his 2 cents. He tweeted this. Mason Rudolph should be significantly fined as well for trying to rip Myles Garrett helmet off his head, which ignited the retaliation. He's not without fault in the unfortunate matter. This is a physical, emotional game played by men. Let's not forget that. So the NFL handed down its decision. Myles Garrett is suspended for the rest of the season. So, Syreta, what do you think of the NFL's decision?
I think it is completely unfair. I think because it's an article which talks about when the player's helmet is removed, is used as a weapon, right? And so the sanction really should be 2 to 4 games. You should not be suspended for the whole season. This is a contact sport. This is white privilege playing out. Yep. Period.
So you feel like the outcome would have been different if, let's say, the roles were reversed,
yes,
that if Rudolph hit Myles Garrett?
Absolutely. Rudolph was charging at him. So, of course, Garrett is in a position where he has to defend himself. And unfortunately, sometimes you write a check that your ass can't cash. And you got beat up. Right. And so, his teammates are going to jump in and help. Right. Because that's what people do. It's an emotional high charge. They have all this adrenaline, and it's a contact sport. Everybody knows that football is a very heavy contact sport. So things like this happen. It happens in hockey. People get hit in the teeth with pucks and the hockey pucks and all the sticks. And then you have baseball where people are charging at you with 100-mile-per-hour balls. You don't see these kind of suspensions take place in those other sports. I think it's definitely speaking, and unfortunately the NFL is in a position which, talks about race a lot. There's been a lot of controversy here. So I do feel like this is a bit extreme. I think it's a bit unfair, and, it really is just unjustified.
Are you saying that you believe Rudolph deserved that strike with the helmet?
I don't think he deserved it. I don't think anybody deserves to get hit with something, but you charged at someone and you attempted to take off their helmet. So if they're in a position to defend themselves, if somebody pushes you up against the wall, you're going to respond. That's called fight or flight.
It's self-defense.
It's self-defense. And so if you attempted to try to take my helmet off to hit me with it, I don't know what you're about to do to me. So your natural reflexes, although it wasn't the best decision, from him, for his perspective, it wasn't a good decision. But at the end of the day, you attempted to try to do something to me first. I just happened to be very defensive and making sure I took care of my safety.
So, Dee, do you believe that Rudolph should be penalized as well?
Absolutely. I feel like both of them should be penalized, but what I'm seeing is a case of self-defense. And I also do see, I'm sorry, I don't know their names. This is the first time I've seen the story.
Rudolph
but,
and Garrett.
Which one is the white one?
Rudolph.
Rudolph, okay. Rudolph. I don't know sports, you guys. I don't know sports.
We're filling you in.
We're filling me in. But they jumped him. He's the one who started.
Yes,
he defended himself, and then his team players jumped him. They kicked him in the head.
Yeah.
So, I do see that tensions were high and things happen, and your endorphins are running and your adrenaline is kicking in, but everyone should be penalized. Everyone. I feel like it's not only the 2 players. I think the people who decided to jump in should be penalized as well. The fact that he's not, I don't know. I think it's very odd. It shows to the favoritism, especially we've seen this happening with the NFL for a while. Yeah. We've had the Colin Kaepernick conversation already. You know what's going on. So I don't know. I feel like he was trying to defend himself, and he got the short end of the stick in this situation.
And just be fair, if we know that this is a contact sport that can be the difference between someone being paralyzed and being able to walk if they're injured. So if the helmet is so important.
Exactly.
Anyone involved in this fight should be immediately suspended the same, and we should not be having this conversation.
Absolutely.
We should not be picking and choosing who's more right or wrong, and especially the person who started this altercation, whether or not they were successful in taking off the helmet, he should be suspended just like just like Garrett was.
He
and I
failed to
think
take it off, but he
Right.
tried first.
you started a
Yes, and
fight.
your attention
You put
to that.
everyone at risk. You broke the rules. You should be penalized the same. And I think that is why people are going to then look and question, is it racially motivated, this decision that's being handed down, because you're seeing two players who are involved in the same scuffle, but the penalty, excuse me, I'm getting fired up. The penalty that they're getting is not the same.
And then you see him playing the victim card too. Like, I'm
he's
not
a
going to have a
bully.
bully. You jumped my man's over.
the
Right.
world
You know
saw
what I'm
you do
saying?
that.
Right, and then you play real arrogant as well. Like that was the way that the clip played, is that like you had no remorse for the attempt that you also, like, you played a pick, because you could definitely see Garrett was definitely sorry.
Remorseful,
He was
exactly.
very
Yes.
remorseful in his behavior, and it's like, okay, I didn't make a good decision. I took accountability. You know,
Absolutely.
whereas him, he's just like
Rudolph is just smug.
He's just like,
Yeah, just
you know, and so yeah, it definitely reads off like, oh, I got it like that. I have it like that. Like, I don't have to have consequence the same way that this man is going to feel it for the rest of the season, knowing that he could potentially get cut, because we know that, again, the NFL also will cut you. It doesn't matter. Like, you could be a star player and get cut on the same day.
But don't you feel Garrett's reaction was extreme?
No, because I feel like what if the roles were reversed and Rudolph definitely was successful with taking off his helmet and hitting him in the head.
But he wasn't.
Well, what if he had been? He had made the attempt. Again, we have to look at attempt and intention. Why were you attempted to take his helmet off in the first place? And again, this man saw you do it, so his sensories are off. Right, so you're in the heat of the moment.
Yeah.
You're in the middle of a play. You know, I don't watch football that often, but I know how intense the sport could be, because, you know, just because of the fact that it's competitive. So it's like, well, I don't know what you're about to do to me, so I'm going to do it to you first.
Like you said, don't write checks you can't cash.
Yeah. Oh,
well,
don't
both
start
of their
something.
checks need to bounce.
There he is.
Period.
Drop the mic.
Well, this isn't the first time Myles Garrett is being penalized for violent behavior. He was fined over $52,000 this season alone for his dirty hits. So hopefully he learns his lesson this time.